Welcome back to another Quick Truth. My name is Derek Truesdell, and this week we're going to be continuing our study through the book of Ephesians, and we're picking up now in Ephesians 6, verses 14 through 15. This week we're going to be covering the shoes of the gospel of peace, and we find that in verse 15, but I'll do 14 just for context. So Ephesians 6, 14 through 15 says, "Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace." So this is talking about the shoes of the gospel of peace. And shoes in the military outfit in Rome, the shoes were very, very important. A big part of Caesar's success as an emperor came from the fact that he made sure his legions had shoes. And it wasn't just any shoes. You can't just put on whatever and go out and walk around. And so in those days, they didn't have cars, they didn't have transportation. They walked everywhere for the most part. And on this terrain, they didn't have very well paved roads either, like we do today. So you had to be prepared for any circumstance, any kind of sharp sticks in the ground, because as a military person, if you're walking everywhere and then you can't walk, you're pretty much sidelined. So you have to be ready. And the shoes came in big in that way. So they had very special shoes called greaves, and they wrapped around your foot, and they would have a hobnail in the base of them to give you kind of stability as well. So the shoes are very important, and they've really focused on that in Rome. And that's what Paul is kind of borrowing here, saying the shoes, the gospel, is very, very important because it does a couple of different things. To get these shoes, to get the gospel of peace with God, we have to do three things, and they're called ABC. So the first thing is A, admit. We admit that we've done wrong, that we've sinned against God. The second is B, we believe that God died to forgive that, to give us forgiveness. And then C, come to him. We come to Jesus, we learn more about him, we become more like him. So ABC, we receive these gospel shoes of peace. And they give us three things. The gospel shoes of peace, like in Rome, the shoes gave them stability in the military. And the gospel of peace gives us stability because we know we have a relationship with God. We know that we are right with God and we have a right standing. We can take that and go into the world knowing and have confidence in that. It also gives us mobility. It gave the Roman soldier mobility to go everywhere he needed to go. And this gospel of peace gives us the ability to go wherever we need to go and share the gospel with other people. And then also adaptability. So you're able to cover a lot of different terrain. You can take this gospel news into any culture and adapt it to that culture and teach them that so they can know God as well. So you can see those three things. And some say that this gospel shoes of peace relates back to the Old Testament, Isaiah chapter 52, verse 7, which says, "How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who publishes peace, who brings good news of happiness, who publishes salvation, who says to Zion, your God reigns." So this verse is really talking about, one view of this is that it's sharing the gospel, getting the gospel out there, and making sure you're ready to share the gospel at any time. But I think a better view of this, actually, there's another way of seeing this, is that it's really, at the beginning of all these verses, it's saying stand firm against the attacks of the devil. So it's really not talking about sharing the gospel here. This second view here is that it's more about just standing against the attacks of the devil, because that's what this whole context is. You're putting on the armor to have defense against these things. So you're standing against the attacks, not necessarily preaching the gospel. So this is another view of it. And to do that, your feet have to be rooted in the fact that you have a right relationship with God. When these attacks with Satan come in and say, God doesn't really care about you and you don't have a right relationship with God. Have you done enough good works in your life to have this good relationship with God? You start to doubt. If you don't have that confidence of the gospel of peace, those attacks come in and they change your mind about things. So you have to have a strong confidence in the gospel of peace, be rooted, and have those shoes rooted and give you stability in what you believe. So your feet can stand firm against the attacks of the devil. And you can know that you have peace with God no matter what attack comes in at you from the devil. So there's two different ways to see that there. Sharing the gospel, or I think better way of looking at it is just standing firm, having confidence in your salvation. And so when those attacks come in, you're ready to defend against them. So this has been another quick truth. We've seen the gospel shoes of peace, and next week we'll cover the next piece of armor. God bless, and I'll see you next time.